someone tell me the other day when we were discussing just several aspects of health and safety in a living residential environment. And I had someone tell me, well, we have a reverse osmosis system in our house. Can the principle of a reverse osmosis system at a single family residential level, is that transferred into larger, communities for hundreds of people?
Thousands even,
And where would that be happening today?
all over the world.
Oh, Gavin, Jesus.
Saudi Arabia, California, I mean, you name it. They build them along the seacoast and they build units that are huge factories.
So when you say, but it's so expensive, what are you saying? Are you saying that the initial acquisition is expensive, or are you saying the maintenance is expensive, replacement? What
It's
are you
all-
saying?
Reverse osmosis requires that the water, first of all, be buffered to a certain pH. It requires that it be raised to a certain temperature.
Uh-huh.
It requires that the pumps be maintained so you can maintain this high pressure. The membranes don't last forever, they have to be replaced.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of maintenance, all the energy costs for all the pumping and what have you. So it's not cheap, it's not horrendously expensive. I mean, compared with not having water, it's
Yeah.
cheap. But
Then the waste byproduct is very salty water and what do
yeah,
you do with that?
so they pump the salty water back out into the bay, and the bay gets saltier and saltier, and then you wind up with another problem. So basically, you've got to extend the piping way out into the ocean. You create a problem wherever you dump it because it's really salty. If you want to purify 10,000 gallons of water, let's say, you don't want to buffer and heat the temperature of all that water just to do 10% of it and then dump it back so it's not too salty. You want to get as much out of it as you can, so maybe you do 90%, which raises the salinity from 5% to what, 50? No, a lot. So it's really salty, and it's an issue.
Yeah.
Not to mention the carbon footprint of all that energy you're using.
Couldn't that salt be harvested? I mean,
Oh, you could.
The salt beds from the oceans in Venice and other places.
You could,
The source of table salt.
yeah.
I lived in Southern California in a period when if people turned on their hose and hosed down or washed down their driveway, they were subject to fines,
Yeah,
hundreds of dollars if they were caught. And you can be sure that if a neighbor next door was adhering to the rule of the city at that moment, they would be reported. So we really became aware
yeah.
of quality of water and scarcity of water and how to use it.
Eventually, everybody will be.
I have a question, Molly. I've heard that drinking, what is that kind of water that distilled water is bad because it doesn't have the minerals in it. Does the water that goes through osmosis have the minerals taken out too?
Yeah,
So that would be bad too, to drink.
probably. I've often thought one should just dissolve a mineral tablet in it, but
You also get a lot of minerals in your foods. I mean, if you have a high mineral diet, which we all should, or take supplements with minerals, you can kind of overtake that. However, my question is the rare earth minerals that we do rely on, the copper and the manganese and such for our enzyme functions, would that be taken out as well, and would we be concerned with the reverse osmosis system?
well,
Or do we rely on our food?
yeah, we don't get that out of water, those elements. The only element we really need out of water is salt. No, iodine, yeah. From iodized salt, no, iodine. The only reason we need minerals in our water, this is full of calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate. The only reason to have them there is so that the water is not such an active solvent. It's a universal solvent, it'll pull minerals. If you drink huge amounts of distilled water, it will tend to pull minerals out of your body. Because it's just such a strong sponge for anything that if you have it totally pure, it's really hard to keep pure water pure because it will dissolve even glass. And anything it comes in contact with is trying to dissolve because it's such an active solvent.
Why is that? What creates that ability for it to be a universal solvent?
I have no idea.
Is it a stable bond?
Wally, what about plastics?
To some degree,
Yeah, but we drink a lot of water out of plastics.
I don't.
But as a culture,
We
do.
do. I suspect the water will dissolve a certain amount of the phthalate plasticizers out of the plastic, and phthalates are estrogen mimics. So I advise everyone to get rid of plastic bottles, water bottles, and use glass or metal.
Including storage in refrigerators and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You mean my plastic with the straw?
Yep.
10 years, I've got to toss it to the
Especially after 10 years. Especially after 10 years.
Glass will break, but stainless steel is good.
Mm-hmm.
They also did a study in the major metropolitan areas finding that city water was no worse for you than plastic water from water bottles. No benefit in getting
They've
plastic water in plastic water bottles. In fact, over the long haul will be bad because it will dissolve any kind of plastic, not just the phthalates. And all those are, like you said, are estrogen and hormone mimickers, and also cause cancer from your estrogen hormone-based cancers like thyroid, like breast, like prostate.
Mm-hmm.
Good old glass. Of course, when you go to a swimming pool, they won't allow glass containers in. So I saw a post on Facebook the other day. It said, water bottle companies don't produce water; they produce plastic bottles. Yeah. That's, I mean, a lot of them have been found to just take city water and bottle it. They don't, if it's just ordinary water, they bottle it and sell it and make a lot of money selling plastic bottles.
Well, we're in Wisconsin where, for instance, I just read this morning when I was looking at the legal hotline, you can actually put a tenant out. You can boot them from a rental, even if it's 10 below. Now that's true in Wisconsin, that's not true in some other states. So what I'm saying is, the state laws here are not as stringent perhaps. So we don't know when we go to buy our water in plastic bottles, we lug them home, and we drink that water out of plastic bottles. We have no idea where it comes from.
Well, most of it comes from out of state anyway, which means there's a huge shipping cost, carbon footprint, blah, blah, blah. If you have a well, you got great water, drink it. So don't buy plastic bottles of water. I mean, get your water tested.
So one of the things that's challenging as an environmental consultant working with companies and governmental agencies and others is when it comes to water, water is very cheap. And therefore, the incentives to do the right thing with water require very long paybacks, don't have particularly strong net present value or return on investment. So a lot of the incentives around it just aren't there. And so really the way to solve the water issues that we have is to raise the price of water, but then that raises ethical questions, with access to water. Because water is heavily subsidized by all of our tax dollars, et cetera. So we pay an artificially low cost for water. And that's one of the problems. But it's a conundrum because how do you price water accurately? You know,
That's assuming that the only way to control water supply is by market mechanism, which is not the case. I mean, you can control it by mandate, by public decision-making. and
Really,
reward
True.
Democratically.
The reason we're in such peril with water is the aquifers, which took millions of years to fill up, are getting close to being dry. And this is all over the world. India, I don't know how many billion people live there, but their biggest agricultural area, the aquifers are almost empty. And, countries where we want asparagus in the middle of the winter and they're growing it in a climate that isn't conducive to asparagus or other types of vegetables. So they irrigate and they suck all the water out of the aquifers. And we really need to, it's big ag and mining and things. It's not people drinking water. It's those heavy users of water that are depleting the freshwater supplies.
I think it's also the landscapes that we have. Like if you look at the Twin Cities metropolitan area, it's mostly residential. It's mostly turf grass.
Yeah.
And turf grass is a very water dependent, fossil fuel dependent.
Herbicides, pesticides.
Right. And so I think it is a residential issue too. I think we do have a tremendous impact on water quality more from a stormwater vantage point.
We're just turning on the tap and
Yeah.
letting the water pour out.
But to get to Bruce's point, I agree with him. It's just that in our capitalistic society, money tends to be what motivates people in this current paradigm.
The first step might be to have a graduated scale, where the more you use, the more you pay. Enough to run a household comfortably. It could be very cheap. If you want to run it exorbitantly, it gets expensive, and you want to go beyond that, it gets more expensive per gallon, And that would help with it.
Well, it's interesting in countries like Bolivia where it's being privatized. And I mean, you could see that happening in this country.
The big trade deals with Mexico and Canada, that was so that we can exploit the water in Canada.
I was in a
Which we have for years with their hydropower.
I was in a hotel in Erie, Pennsylvania, close to the Great Lakes, a couple of weeks ago. We were 5:30 in the morning. I was trying to get hot water, and I must have run 30 gallons. We were on the second floor in this hotel of water, trying to get hot water, or just even warm water. So I complained when we checked out, and she said, "Oh, you should have called the front desk. You would have turned the boiler on." I said, "Just a minute. I shouldn't have to call the front desk to get you to turn the boiler on." But I couldn't believe it. The water that was going down the drain in that hotel. Shocking.
Well, water is important. Actually, it's more than important, it's vital. And it's unique, it's wonderful, it's amazing. And most people don't appreciate all the fine points of water that allow things to happen, like steam engines and cooling of your engine and ice fishing and all this other stuff. That if it were just like any other element, none of this would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we wouldn't be here to see it not be possible.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions that I don't know the answer to?